As a former State House political advisor, really, and one of among the main other reasons that led the PF lose power at a time when you were at the helm of presiding those elections in 2021 was that the rule of law, was on its knees. There was no rule of law to talk about at the time under the PF administration. Hence the UPND, they campaigned based on that premise that they wanted to restore the rule of law. And even now, the UPND, always or keeps on emphasizing that we are back into the Champions League now. There was no law to talk about. We have the law now. How true is that from where you stand?
Okay, so it depends with where your perspective and where you're standing from. In 2021, PF cadres could be arrested and even imprisoned. Innocent Karimanchi is one of the good examples. Innocent Karimanchi went to prison under which government? Under the PF. So when people want to exaggerate that there was no rule of law, it's baseless. It's just baseless, because I used to follow these cases. We're talking about the law versus party cadres in this case. We can't say there was no rule of law, yet we had the police service operating normally, and people could be arrested, taken to court, and taken to prisons. The prison service was operating normally with the prisoners. So if there was some form of a failed state under PF, why is it that we even had free and fair elections, which President HH won? So you see, people tend to exaggerate lies, political lies. If there was no rule of law, President HH wouldn't have been president today. If there was no rule of law, elections could have been conducted in a manner they were conducted, to the point that the sitting president even considered defeat. Because there was no law. So why was he afraid to even consider defeat if there was no law? There was a law. Number one, the Republican Constitution, which was standing and being defended by a sitting president. Government institutions across the country, police, the Zambia Army, the Zambia Prison Service, name it, the public service across the country, they operated at their full scale in a normal way. That's the reason why President Lungu considered defeat. That's the reason why President Lungu went to hand over power willingly and peacefully to President HH at Hero Stadium. I was with him, I escorted him. I was the only special assistant who accompanied him anyway. So, it's a fallacy. It is exaggerated political falsehood to say there was no rule of law in 2021 before UPND took over. That's baseless. If there was no rule of law, as I said, President HH wouldn't have even contested. Look at 2022, how this government banished President Honorable Malanje and Bowman Lusambo using state institutions. So you see, if that was the case in 2021, the PF would have banished HH from on the ballot, meaning he wouldn't have contested. But he was allowed to contest freely and even won. And the power was even handed over to him as the president. And today, he is the president, so he can't be exaggerating lies.
How is our our democratic image as a country from the time the New Dawn government took over up to at this point where we are right now?
Yeah, so that's why we need to be very specific. During I will use the comparative approach. Between 2020 and 2021, that's when I was at State House, so I'll focus there. And I'll compare it to 2021 to date. So 2020 to 2021, the opposition political parties were free to have and to conduct political rallies and press conferences everywhere, every day, every week, every month. President HH himself was always talking on social media, at community house, he was conducting press briefings, and different political players, NGOs, they are everywhere across the country conducting, enjoying their freedom of association and freedom of assembly under the PF and under President Lungu. That's agreed. From 2021 August to date, January 2024, under President HH and the UPND, freedom of association and of freedom of assembly is a wishful thinking for the opposition political parties, the NGOs and Zambians. You can only dream it in your dream when you're sleeping. You can't actualize it physically during the day. The police will show up before you even talk. The police, in fact, will show up before you even leave your house. If you are driving, the police will show up before you come out of your car. So, democracy as we speak is under assault. Democracy right now is under attack. Freedom of assembly and freedom of association is just a hoax. In fact, the police IG recently made it very clear. You can't be allowed to conduct those press briefings or even in political rallies.
He actually disputed that he was misquoted.
Whether he was misquoted or not, it is not happening. It is only President HH who is conducting press briefings. So we can't talk about what is not there. Let's talk about what is there. So under the PF, that's why I tend to worry at the political lies the president tend to peddle. Even during official press briefings, he wants to exaggerate like he's a Democrat. He's an authoritarian. That's a fact. He was elected in a democratic manner, but he's governing Zambia using authoritarian tendencies and authoritarian models. He does not want Fred Membe to talk, to even have a press rally. The Socialist Party in December wanted to conduct a rally, is it in Mandevu? My friend, they didn't see the light of the day for that press, for that rally. It was stopped by the police and they were warned. So right now, Zambians are fearing that should I have a rally or should I have a press briefing at some lodge? You know, Kasonde, is it Kasonde Mwenda in Chipata? I was in Chipata recently. My brother, he was, yeah, I think he regretted. No. If you see some video footage, it's quite unfortunate. We have got, now the police have become so militant that they will treat you as if coming to my church, like you're a terrorist. For holding just a press briefing. Kasonde Mwenda had to survive and cry for his life. In Chipata. It happened, I think, a month ago. He was on the Copper Belt. The same Kasonde Mwenda was on the Copper Belt. He was brutalized and harassed by the police. Now, you can't talk about democracy in any society where citizens are not free to assemble freely and to associate.